any sort of regulatory headlines that we could see, any more Michael Saylor promises to purchase are going to have a positive effect. When you are in a bull market, positive headlines should react positively, and that's what we're looking for. Right? We're looking for narratives, we're looking for incentive, we're looking for reasons for why people need to get exposure. So again, this is going to be on our radar. It's going to be very, very important. NVIDIA earnings at 5 o'clock tonight. And again, with the recent releases of graphics cards and their new line of releases, I have a hard time understanding NVIDIA underperforming going into this earnings call. So again, I have not too much to worry about. That's just how I'm thinking about it. So again. We have a lot of good things to look at. Now, again, I know you guys probably saw over the past couple. Look, already, we're already pre-market trading higher. So again, I think a lot of people are anticipating a positive earnings call. And if you're an AI speculator, AI coins, I think they kind of play hand in hand with one another. So again, everything's kind of looking good. I'm not going to be the one to try and be the contrarian. We take what we get and we move forward with it. On a scale of 1 to Tyson, how boring is ETH right now? I would say it's like Rose Namajunas type fight. It's pretty damn boring. But it's gonna come around, guys. Again, like I don't think you guys should be too bearish down here. I've made purchases at the 3100 level months ago because I really did think that would be the fair valuation. I did not anticipate this, but again, like we have flipped the 200 EMA here. We are holding it. So again, I don't see much more downside for it, if I'm being completely honest with you. But at the same time, do I expect it to outperform Bitcoin in the short term? Not right now. Same goes for Solana. I do expect them to catch up. They are the majors, number 2 and number 3 in this market. So they will have to catch up. I notice a lot of meme activity, which plays hand in hand with the utility token, right? If people want to play these memes on chain, well, guess what they have to use, right? We could put 2 and 2 together, right? We could put 2 and 2 together. But we're kind of stuck here, so I guess we'll just talk and shoot the shit while we wait for legacies to open up here. But it's looking like a good day. There's a lot of things to be excited about. And yeah, let's see some news over here. A lot of things going on today. Are we just gonna continue chatting up here? That's interesting. So I have a final take profit around 96, but knowing how problematic 95K is going to be, we got quite a bit of sell walls up here. So again, try not to FOMO, try not to get emotional, stick to your plan, stick to the trend until it ends. As you guys know, these deviations under 200 EMA, it's been fairly easy. The only thing is that profit taking has been a bit difficult. So again, try not to overstay your welcome. I want to take a look at some stuff here. There's some stuff I haven't taken a look at for a while. Let's see how our next FOMC is looking like. I think it's going to play a big role. Hey, it's a lot closer than it looks, actually. We're still expecting a 60% favor of a rate cut next month or the month coming up, the next FOMC coming up. So that's something to keep in mind. I know Powell made some comments last week, pretty much being a bit indecisive about the rate cuts for the upcoming month, but realistically makes no sense with the fact that he's 3/4 of a whole percentage down in the past 3 months. So it's I take it with a grain of salt. I think Powell's playing a bit of politics, trying his best to steer it politically, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense to just halt your rate hikes after you made such an aggressive 50 basis points cut. So keep that in mind. It's a 60-40 split right now. I've seen closer ones, but this one's pretty close. So again, we need more information. We need more revelations in order to come up with a solid conclusion going into FOMC. But realistically, a market is bullish. It wants to be bullish, and we submit to that narrative. What's up, Nixta? Baboon, make sure the volume's not down all the way. That might be a problem. All right, let's take a look at the rest of this market while I wait for DB. You guys streaming here? Discord. All right. Sorry about that. What did you miss? I'm just filling the air here while I wait for DB so we can have like a little back and forth conversation. I forgot how lonely it feels to talk about macro without someone on the other side of it. We pretty much discussed the Nvidia earnings call. We discussed the FOMC rates, how they're going in right now, my personal predictions, and the overall market. Right, I told people, don't try and be too bearish down here, especially on your majors. They should catch up, and I don't like this. So please come back down so I can get a nice fill. I think you can get a lot of catch up, right? We got quite a big explosive move in market cap again. We made new highs. We pretty much chatted right through. So again, everything you need to see to suggest a bull market is on the horizon or already here. I think we're entering the hope optimism phase. We're getting out of the disbelief now. People are starting to believe. This was the disbelief here, and now I think we're in the hope/optimism phase. So again, you're not the earliest, you're not in the pregame anymore, but it has kicked off. It's starting. So again, you take that with a grain of salt, right? You don't overplay your hand. You wait for the moves to come to you, and again, these will perform, but you're gonna find yourself getting chopped to bits on the timings of these things. My focus, and I think your focus should be until we see a significant drop in this dominance, to look at these three majors here: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. Use cases for Solana out the wazoo. Again, if everybody's doing on-chain activity, they need Sol. They need it. They absolutely need it. And Ethereum's not getting the same sort of love, and that's normal because the utility narrative is not there yet. What I see more and more on a macro side of things is again, when something is finally believed to be dead, that's when its most lucrative opportunity comes. So again, I think Solana's ran really close into its previous all-time highs. And again, this is where people get ironically the most bullish. We're still not in an outperforming alt markets. So again, expect this to take a bit more time, right? And now I would expect Ethereum to catch up from here, if we're gonna get major rotations. What's up, DB?
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm sorry. I was in a meeting that overextended and I couldn't
No
just
stress.
leave. So
No
sorry
stress.
about that. All
Glad
right.
to have you here.
Are we witnessing another all-time high test live on stream?
I mean, we did. You just missed it, but yeah, we were just watching it. I mean, I've become numb to this. I want to see 100K at this point. Like these $1,000 increments now. Or I'm getting bored. Um, we got some work to do at 95K though, guys. So just keep that within your realistic expectations, please. Don't get too far ahead of yourself.
Yeah. I was looking at the order books, so I mean it's quite interesting to see what's happening. Obviously, Bitcoin leading the market. Anything else is quite irrelevant at this point. We've had open interest increase. We had a Coinbase premium before New York Open, so that's probably a TWAP on Coinbase. Constant bidding.
Do we know who it
the
is?
open interest,
Do we know who it is?
we don't know, but since it is on Coinbase, when the US is sleeping, I'm just assuming it was a TWAP. Maybe you have more information
Absolutely.
about that.
And
Yeah,
we've been seeing like this World War II alliance, Russia USA style, where we have Binance limit orders, like we're talking big Binance limit orders, mixed together with a Coinbase spot TWAP. It's quite literally an alliance here of people buying in unison. Feels more like a rat race these days. But nonetheless, like this buying pressure is no joke, guys. It's no joke. It's hard to fade, right? Because again, Bitcoin is a limited supply asset, right? So if someone's in your face shoving $4, $5, $6 billion in a 24-hour period, naturally it's very hard to provide collateral for this. So again, the bluff is being called on sellers here, and this Coinbase premium is indicative that what's driving this demand is a spot purchase. It's not a perp purchase. So there's no bluff on the holdings they're trying to buy here. So keep that in mind. It's good context to have. But yeah, sorry, DB.
yeah. What I find interesting is that we kind of have a change of dynamics in the last few days. So we would have Bitcoin dominance rising right ahead of New York Open or during New York Open, right? Or in the hours after New York started trading. Now we basically have a Coinbase premium and Bitcoin dominance rallying hours before New York Open, right? So we can certainly see a spot bidding before the US gets to their desks. And as you said, now this spot bidding paired with the ETF flows, I mean, it's just crazy amounts of money being poured into Bitcoin. But
It's
yeah, as you
it's
said,
we don't even have the ETF
there's a lot.
inflows open right now, DB. That's the craziest thing, right? So like this TWAP was executed overnight, and we have still yet to see how ETF inflows with IBIT options going live today. So again, like there's another avenue being opened on the TradFi side of things, the options side for I think it's BlackRock's ticker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
But what
is.
one thing
Yeah.
needs to recognize is that we have a lot of orders above 95K, all the way to 100K.
Yep, I mentioned it.
If you look at that, that's quite important. So, I mean, what I personally have observed in the last few days is as Bitcoin was going into price discovery or reaching a new all-time high, people were trying to FOMO into alts, which I don't think is the wisest decision when Bitcoin dominance is rallying. And we've seen that yesterday, right? A small retrace by Bitcoin, not even 2%, I believe, led to like 10% flushes on alts. So, if you want to enter alts, at least wait for an open interest flush, and choose some stronger alts, maybe
And
Doge or Solana or Sui.
I think
But
it
yeah, it's definitely
I think it adds up a lot with the market sentiment. Again, I keep seeing the sentiment that people are asking for lower. They want lower, and this is I think specifically related to Bitcoin, right? The price that they're seeing in their head, and it's something we've taught you in here. That price discovery, the price is what the price is. It's neither too expensive nor cheap, nor too cheap anymore. It just simply is what it is, and it's what people are willing to pay for it. And until we can get more data, more information, longer periods of consolidation, and larger areas of rejection, we must simply accept it for the price that it's trading at. And I see this sentiment on Twitter, in this chat, in this group, in every other Discord I'm in, where people just say, "Well, it's got to come back down. It's got to give me 88K. It's got to give me 87K." And it's like this TWAP that you've seen is someone saying, "No, we don't want you to have that." And again, it's there comes then I get the argument that, "Oh my God." Leveraged longs, they need to get flushed. I mean, I look at the funding rate and it tells me the opposite. It's telling me that one side is heavily offside here, and that's the sell side. It's the sell side. It's people continuously, telling themselves, well, this has to come down. It has to come down, and they're not willing to cover at the area someone's willing to call that bluff. It's because the price is high, and again, it's fucking with a lot of people. When I say this is the most hated rally, I believe it, and it's a psychological factor as well. You have a lot of people looking at the price and coming to terms with the fact that they'll never be able to truly afford one in its entirety ever again. And again, it comes down to this, well, like, it's too high. It's too high. It needs to come back down. And maybe that might be right. Maybe you will get these flushes. And again, we've gotten flushes. We've gotten them. How many people try to play these breakouts expecting, the 93K lid to blow off, but instead we're met with the opposite. Realistically, it's the most direct trend we've ever been given. It's nothing has really nothing has really changed here. It's just people's psychological understanding of this is that $94,000 is expensive, right? And again,
yeah.
it comes down to another sentiment I want to add in here is that you mentioned is that premiums on alts are extremely high, and it's again this other entitlement sentiment where people go, well, because Bitcoin's rallying, that means that I'm due a 20-30% pump on these alts, but as you could see, so does everybody else. You want to see where I think longs need to get flushed or where I think longs are offside? It's on these alts. It's on some of these memes where I'm seeing 400, almost 0.1% premiums on alts. It's if you want to look at where the market is leaning on the perp side of things, you could just see it right here in front of you. And I see Bitcoin almost back at its neutral levels, the levels that I saw at 10K, not 10K, 16K, 20K, 30K, 40K, 50K, 60K, 70K, 80K, 90K now. It's the same incentives. Yes, it's increasing now because again, people start getting excited. We break new highs. They think it could continue going up. I understand this, and these will get punished. Now the thing is, if our funding rate continues to drop as we enter an area where the trend is being defended, then it's indicative of one thing and one thing alone, is that the short side is entering an offside territory. So I just I keep that in mind. It's if anything, the entitlement is coming from the side of alts because hey, it's been down for X amount of days. Bitcoin's rallied 30%. Where's the catch up play, right? And it's preying on people's emotions. It's you have a lot of people gambling with money they don't have, and that's indicative of these funding rates. They don't have the spot. They have perps, right? And that's fairly easy to call the bluff on. So DB, if you have any comments.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's very easy to lose money by entering fresh alt positions when Bitcoin is rallying and tagging new all-time highs, because alts will retrace on a very small move. So I think that the rotation will happen at some point. Um, what we're seeing on Bitcoin dominance right now on a very lower time frame, we will see that on a higher time frame as well. And Ethereum will eventually catch up, and that will be healthy for alts. So I'm not bearish on the macro of alts, right? I'm just saying you should be cautious entering alt position in anticipation of catching this move led by Bitcoin. That's
That's
all.
it.
Another thing Another thing that I find very, very impressive, Rego, I don't know if you share this opinion, is that we've had some uncertainty in traditional financial markets in the last few days. Like nothing big, but a few developments, right, that have led to some declines in stock markets, like the Dow
Hmm.
Jones or the S&P 500. So we
Yep.
had this. Let's call it a little FUD about hot inflation data last week that basically suggested that the Fed might not cut interest rates in December. That led to some overreaction in the traditional financial markets. The S&P 500 has dropped, I believe, by about 2% to the previous all-time high area. Then yesterday we had war fought in the war in Ukraine that also led to the Dow Jones declining. And despite all this uncertainty, Bitcoin has prevailed. Of course, there were some lower time frame retraces, pullbacks, but on a greater scheme of things, it didn't influence its uptrend structure in the last few days, and I found that very impressive, to be honest.
I
And as you
mean,
said,
oh
if you
yeah,
look at
continue.
funding rates, they're still good. If you look at the RSI, I think that something very interesting to note is that when Bitcoin pumped all the way to what was then 89K, 90K, and its RSI went all the way to 91 on the 4 hour, which is a heavily overbought area, right? It it has had its RSI resetting in the last few days, while the
Yep.
price basically consolidated,
Yep.
and the RSI dropped all the way down to 50, and the price has consolidated in a very small range. It didn't drop. It didn't offer a huge pullback, but the RSI has reset, which is very healthy to the price action of Bitcoin, right? And as you say, on the other hand, you have the funding rates that is nothing compared to other uptrends. And to me, these are signs that we're in a very healthy consolidation. Of course, on a lower time frame, and if you look at the 1 minute candle for Bitcoin and alts, it might be tiring to look at this because you want to see prices go up all the time, but that's simply not realistic. But if you zoom out and look at what's happening with the RSI reset, with the funding, with the TWAP on Coinbase before America awakes, and then with the ETF flows that have recovered again after dropping late last week, I don't know, man. I mean, it looks pretty interesting to me. At least if you have exposure to Bitcoin, and as I said, for altcoins, the time will come.
The time
The
will
time will
come,
come.
but the problem that we're facing right now is a lot of people, again, they have FOMO in ways that you wouldn't believe, but instead of FOMOing on BDC, they're FOMOing on alts that they probably assume will rally. The problem is they don't have the collateral to back it up. They won't purchase the spot position of it and just ride it out. Instead, they're trying to catch the exact moment that it does, and a market will prey on that time and time and time and time again. It's something I've seen in my third cycle now. I've seen it every cycle. I've seen it every cycle do the same fucking thing. And again, it's most of you guys will be okay with your alt spot positions, but trying to time it on leverage, it's where dreams go to die. Realistically, it's where dreams go to die. They will prey on this over and over and over again. And today, with this war FUD, with this inflation FUD and all this stuff. Again, I like to think, over the past 4 years, they tried to prop you up. that the economy was this healthy thing, doing very, very well, combating numbers very, very well. And now that a new administration's coming in, they start to change that tone and they start to make it sound like it's the end of the world. You have escalation from the side of Ukraine, which does not pose any nuclear threat into a country that does pose a nuclear threat. It's all, I hate to say, but it all feels by design now at this point, doesn't it? It's almost like you're trying to create a catastrophe or some sort of panic environment for an administration that's coming in and promising to do really good things. It's something I can't help but notice. But at the same time, I think the market has spoken and says, I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second. And again, I have more faith in the administration that promises to do good things. That's how I see it. Sometimes as a trader, you do need to think outside the box. And as realistically as I could put it, that's how I'm seeing it. I'm not falling for the narrative and I'm not falling for the fear. I just think it's bullshit. No nuclear war, nobody wins. Nobody wins, right? So realistically, why would they do such a thing? I just see it this way. Again, I tend to think a bit differently when I play markets. I see it for what it is. I don't see it for what the emotion is trying to take out of me. I see it for what's the opportunity out of all this if they're wrong, right? And they've been wrong about a lot of things in these past 4 years. So again, I think market participants have spoken. They're tired of being lied to. They're tired of trusting, you know, certain data that conveniently comes out in favor of certain ways that it leans. And again, I follow the money and I follow the market, and the market tells me otherwise. So again, it's just it's just game theory. It's how I see it. It's how I approach a market. In terms of macro, is inflation that bad? I don't know. I mean, from an economic standpoint, from a real life standpoint, do people tend to be suffering right now? I think so. I think so. I think that's a very real thing. But does the market truly care about it? I don't think so. And your job as traders is to take your emotions, put them aside, stop looking at it from a rational point of view, and just look at it from what's the market telling me, and the market tells you otherwise, and it's pricing in that otherwise factor. So again, as traders, your job is to think a bit outside the box, think ahead. Don't always think about what the headlines are trying to make you feel. Chances are there's an undertone to that needs to be
Yeah.
understood. DB, we're 1 minute away from New York Open here. So just before we
Yeah, just wanted to add some context relating to inflation. So the thing was that we had CPI basically topping in 2022, I believe, a few weeks after the war in Ukraine started, and it has been in a downtrend for a few months. And CPI has been lower than the previous month for several months in a row. And now we had one data print where CPI was in line with expectations, but still higher than last month, and where PPI was above expectations. So it's literally 1 month, right? It doesn't necessarily suggest a change of trend. It could, but we still need more data to come to that conclusion. But given that it suggested something, people just interpreted that inflation is picking up again and that this inflation narrative is gaining momentum again, and that has led to some uncertainty in the market. I think it is still interesting to look at data going into the next FOMC meeting because it won't be as straightforward as the last one. And so last one we knew that there will be a 25 bps rate cut. For next month, there's no clear consensus. I believe it was 35% in favor of no rate cuts, and the other was in favor of 25 bps rate cut. So this could create some uncertainty, especially with incoming data on the economy next week. We got GDP data, we got unemployment data, and we will see how that will change the consensus going into the FOMC meeting. I believe that if we get good data on the economy, the probability of a 25 bps rate cut for December will increase, and that will be good for speculative assets. So would be interesting to take a look at that as new data comes in.
Absolutely, absolutely. What I'm seeing here is on New York Open, Coinbase gaps up, MicroStrategy gaps up. SPX kind of opens flat. That's interesting. That's interesting. Dow Jones looks to gap up a little bit here. The craziest thing is like if war FUD and Ukraine launching missiles is not not going to drive this lower to the Trump lows, pre-inauguration lows, or I'm sorry, pre-election lows. Realistically, is that done, and are we priced in of this FUD? I have yet to determine this, but MicroStrategy, as we can imagine, is starting to chat up. ETF inflows are now open. So we do expect this tape to go a bit wild, especially on the spot side of things, as well. Yeah, we could already see it starting to go a bit crazy here. So there you go. Yeah, that's fucking banana bread. Okay, so look, we're running into 95K now. Welcome to a new all-time high, second week in a row, DB. Congrats.
Yeah, always on our stream, man.
It's
We
you
had
know, now look,
91 last week.
it
91.
was 91. It was 91. And again, guys, it's the first 5 minutes of New York Open. So expect, emotions to go wild here. The 95K is huge. I don't expect to break into it. I think this is going to SFP if I'm being completely honest with you. But we have IBIT options that are live today. We have Nvidia earnings tonight. So let's take a look at Nvidia. How are they looking? Interesting, right?
Yeah,
Interesting.
just one more thought. Just one more thought on the thought around the war in Russia and Ukraine. I saw many people being worried about that yesterday and last night. I personally think that to the most part, the war in Ukraine has been priced in by the markets. So I wouldn't expect a huge overreaction unless something extraordinary happens, like the US getting involved directly or anything bigger. But I don't. I found that quite unrealistic. So. I don't expect it much to influence financial markets going forward, to be honest.
Okay.
Nvidia earnings, yeah, we will see, right? We didn't have that AI rally ahead of the earnings this time. That's interesting. I mean, apart from maybe render, we didn't really have AI coins catching up before the earnings. So we will see how the market reacts. Obviously, we're looking for Nvidia not missing expectations, but eating earnings, that would be good, I think, for the general health of the markets. But
I
I don't
think
I
this
don't
is the
expect it.
craziest. This is the craziest story since GameStop, right? Like, this has to be the craziest story since GameStop, right? By the way, DB, like MicroStrategy just gapping up like this every fucking day. How many days has it just? This is the
Did
craziest.
it like did it like reach a new all-time high after like 20 or
Absolutely.
something?
Yeah.
That's
Look,
that's that's
this is the most fucking ridiculous thing. I was 6 years old. I was 6 years old the last time it was at an all-time high. The dot-com bubble. All right. This is unbelievable. Yeah, we
what is
liquidated a lot of sellers. This is what I mean. The sell side liquidity is just being massacred. I don't know. We're in the first 15 minutes here, so again, expect an SFP here. I think 95K is quite an obstacle. It's probably their biggest stand since 100K. So again, I don't think 100K is as easy as people are going to make it sound. I have a lot of round trips, but hey, I'm open to surprises. Dominance
look at
pretty much
comments.
engulfing.
Yeah. Right after New York Open.
Yeah,
Good
it's
timing.
yeah, it's like again, the eagerness to rotate into alts is unbelievable. It's like anything I've ever. Like nothing I've ever seen before. Not even 2021 was as bad. I think 2021 people just kind of accepted that we're in phase one, and they kind of just slowly allocated to ETH because they knew it would catch up. But like these people are just full stacking in and expecting to move today, tomorrow,
You
and
know what?
and they
The people expect an all season to last for 15 minutes.
look at this.
They think that if they miss that breakout on alts, they will never catch up on them. That's super unrealistic, right? If you get a true all season at some point, after months and months and months of Bitcoin dominance rising to where it is today, I think we're talking about a few weeks and months of an all season if we get it. Like in
Oh, absolutely,
2021, lasted
absolutely.
between January and May.
Look at
Right, so
this.
if you don't catch that breakout right away, I mean that's totally fine. You will get flushes, you'll get pullbacks, even in all seasons. That's totally normal. But the worst thing you can do is just chase this pump on altcoins and just risk on losing money if it just flushes 10% after you enter. I mean, you could run away with it, right, and catch maybe 5%. Not saying that's impossible, but the risk is simply higher, and that's something that I'm willing to take.
I don't try to fight the market cycle. I mean, it's my third one. I've seen it unfold the same time, the same way. Slight discrepancies again. You got Solana in the mix now. You got like a How do I explain this? You got a meme narrative right now, and it's very very similar to how the DeFi narrative was in 2021. Everybody was talking DeFi and how it could change the world and yada 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 yada. Same thing with memes. It's the same sort of narrative, that side narrative, like that I'm seeing unfold. The thing is, it's like it's still the same, more or less, mumbo jumbo. Like it's still the same process. It's again, the only thing I realize is a bit different is I think market participants this time are just a bit more desperate, a bit more in a hurry. And again, maybe that has to do with the times we were in 2020, and now the times that most people are in 2024. Is I think people's financial situations are just a bit more desperate, and again, they feel that because they're here this time around much earlier, that they're entitled to the move when it finally happens. And again, I don't, I it's the same thing every time, and I just wish that was more accepted as the reality instead of trying to force and shove, because it ruins a good moment, right? It ruins a really really good opportunity for yourselves. And there's no rush, right? Like we're what, like 3 weeks into new all-time highs. We haven't even had an inauguration day yet. It's pretty it's pretty short-sighted to try and catch a move like without having any
Is
sort
there
of like
also
long-term.
tax season in December, Rego? Or
Exactly. That's usually the moment where we get that flush. Like that's the moment where everybody that's comfortable with their gains of the year, or was collecting losses the whole year, and finally made even or something. This is usually where you see that sell off, because everybody wants to realize their gains, tax them, and then move on to the next season. Like in December 2020, right? It was the same thing. We got this huge market wide flush, 25, 35, 40% in some cases, and we were there and we longed it all. And shortly after, kick started what we saw shortly after. Like it was like I'm expecting more or less the same thing, right? Like it's
to me, it's very unrealistic to not expect some form of pullback or larger correction. Maybe not today, maybe not this week, right? But at some point, I'm expecting like Bitcoin to retrace a bit. And with a bit, I don't mean to go to 28K, right? Not, let's be realistic, but a wider correction, maybe to 86K, maybe to 85K, that's still possible. And if that happens, altcoins will retrace 20, 30%. And when that happens, and it will happen. You wished you saved your stables
that's it.
instead of just trying to catch every move in a lower time frame.
That is it. That's how I see it, right? Like I think a lot of people just jump in the gun. They feel entitled. Take away the entitlement. Take away this fear. Take away this rushing mindset, because that's exactly how a market preys on its unsuspecting victims, right? And in this game, you need to be calm, calculated, and not forced. The second you're forced, you ruin a really good opportunity. You sweat, you stress. You sweat and you stress. You sweat and you stress, and it's just not worth your trouble, right? So as you guys could see, coming up on 95K, as we would expect, it wasn't going to be, such a walk in the park. That is quite a line of defense, both on the spot side and on the sell side. And from here until 100K, it's going to be very, very problematic. Again, you have a lot of people running their emotions very, very high. And again, the first 15 minutes of a New York Open gets quite dicey. And I think we like to call that, right? We called that. We called that. We
Mm.
called an SFP. But
Yeah,
again,
absolutely.
yeah,
I
it's
talked
it's
about all sell orders around 95K to 100K, so it's obviously not a smooth walk through that.
no, it won't be.
Uh,
It won't be. Like when we say 70 to 100K was going to be problematic, this is what we're talking about. It's not going to be that parabolic BDC price action that you're used to seeing on previous cycles, where it just goes to 90 to 100K in a single day, which is what we used to see. Like back when numbers were much smaller, you would see like 20 to 26K in like a day. I don't think until we break the 100K, I don't think we'll see that. But as you guys could see, they are selling off this New York Open very aggressively. And I think they're baiting a lot of shorts into this. If we can go take a look, yeah, funding's fucking low again. That's quite incredible. What were you saying, DB? Sorry.
no, one thing I always talk about alts because you cover Bitcoin perfectly. I don't need to cover that, and people are interested in alts. Um, I mean, I covered my idea on alts earlier, but one thing that we need to understand as well is that alts are, if you zoom out, most of them are actually resetting, right? You had a coin like WIF, for example, run from 190 to almost $5, right? And
Hmm.
if you look at that, you can't go back and say alts are lagging, man. I mean, it's 155% move. And what's happening now is that they're resetting on the RSI. And I think you should put some alerts on the 4-hour RSI, sub 35 to 30, and on the 12-hour. And when you had that RSI reset together with the funding reset, then you zoom in on a lower time frame and look for accumulation areas. But as long as this reset is not complete yet, I don't think it makes much sense to just ape into alts. So first of all, don't just ape into altcoins because Bitcoin is running, and don't just buy altcoins when Bitcoin is retracing simply because the market is retracing, right? Not every dip is for buying, not every rip is for selling, but have your own system in place. I try to explain my system in my corner quite a lot through funding rates and through RSIs, and I think you should do that as well and have a more calculated decision-making system when it comes to altcoins, because that's very important because they can retrace a lot after so impulsive moves they had in the last few days.
I agree. Don't over like if you're gonna play rotations, guys. You spot a good move. You think there's a lot of momentum from it. You're leveraged up. Don't overstay your welcome until you know for a fact you are in that phase of the cycle. Right now, it's Bitcoin price discovery mode. It can go on for way longer than I think a lot of people are expecting. I think 100K is just the first pit stop. I think it goes way higher than that at this point. I'm not going to give targets because I don't want to overshoot expectations for people. But like you will know when you are in the phase two of our market, and that will come, and it will be very fairly obvious to you because it's not these rotational musical chair plays that you see where some sectors go off 5-10% and the other ones bleed out 10%. It's pretty much everything just goes crazy, like 10, 20, 30% a day, in terms of how illiquid they are. So when I say you'll know, like you'll know, like it's straightforward as it can be. Like you don't have to, time it like this. That's what I'm trying to say. Like most of you guys, I think are going to be way better sticking to a couple of bags that you guys really, really trust. You have a really, really high conviction in, and you average your way in instead of trying to find the Pico factor bottom and the Zepto top. Like it's so much better if you just go with the flow and position yourself accordingly because you do want to be a bit early. You don't want to do it after the fact. You do want to have your conviction and start it, at a slow pace now, so that when the rotation does finally happen, you're kind of in a really strong position. The problem is, it's like this entitlement. I say it all the time. This entitlement needs to go away. You need to rid yourself of this fact that a market owes you something. It doesn't. It's just doing what it has to do. And again, right now you're in phase one, then comes phase two, and then comes phase three. Right? You guys understand this
Yeah.
by now.
And the thing is that when you purchase an alt after 30-40% retrace, 50% retrace, like WIF, for example, or Pepper after the Coinbase listing, if you slowly scale into it, it doesn't really matter where exactly you buy as long as you have enough powder to DCA, right? If you look at Pepper, for example, from let's say August to October, like whichever pullback you bought and added to your spot back brought you into a good position to catch the big move that followed in the last few weeks, right? So even with altcoins, if you have high conviction, just start building your bags whenever you get a decent flush on open interest on Bitcoin. Add small amounts to it, and then when the true alt rotation happens, you don't need to FOMO into positions, right? And as Rego said, we will have these 40-50% moves on altcoins at some point. So when that happens, it doesn't really matter if you bought 1 or 2% lower or higher.
Yeah, it's like I can't help but like mention what I'm seeing here is this, open interest going crazy, but funding rates going down. It's just indicative of shorts, man. It's insane. It's insane. Selling something in which you do not know how much supply remains is the craziest thing to me. It's just the craziest nonsensical thing I've ever seen in my life. And as you can see, just calling the bluff on the sellers. It's just there's you don't have the collateral in the face of
What's
these billions of buys. I don't get it. I don't get how people don't see this. You could sell so many
the
other
extent?
things, except for this. It's the one thing you should never sell when it's moving like a freight train. It's just it's interesting to me.
S&P
It's interesting.
the
Are,
first
are we
minutes.
are we recovering? Actually, no, that's quite
Um,
bad. That's quite bad.
yeah,
Uh,
quite red
but
opening to be
MicroStrategy
honest.
doesn't give a fuck. It's crazy, dude. I've never seen this before.
What's coin doing? Let me check.
Coin wick down a bit. It's back to. I
Hmm,
mean, it's still
okay.
gapped up. It's still gapped up. You know, there's still an overall bullishness on the TradFi side of the crypto sector. It's just it's the first 15, 20 minutes, right? It's the first 30 minutes of trading. It's usually normal. Like the volatility gets itself out of the way. But like it again, like I want to say a lot of people just took their profit on longs here. They thought this is the top or it was going to crash. And again, like in the face of ETF inflows that are probably more and more getting more and more bullish and positive with options. Probably, I have to take a look at the data on options just to see which way they're leaning. Um, it's just more avenues being opened. You know, more Trump nominations for something like the Treasury, the SEC commissioner that are all becoming pro Bitcoin. And again, it's just like I find the difficulty in trying to argue tops here. If you want to take profit, I get it. But like to net sell, to net short, to net sell in an environment like this is just I find it incredibly risky and scary. What are your thoughts on the previous ETF inflows marking tops in the past? Is that no longer true? You're in price discovery, Ragnaros. So again, it's starting to feel more like a rat race, and it's going to ramp up and increase from this moment on. Um, the thing is, with inflows increasing, I'll say it again that it's not like they can just come out with more supply out of nowhere. It's whoever's selling here has a reason to believe that here's a good place to sell. But I think the underlying issue here is that they're not realizing that someone is calling that and says no problem, I'll buy it all, and again it creates this dynamic like once you're done selling this all the way up to I want you guys to see how thin air this is all the way above. Do you guys see this? Do you guys see how it's a fucking ghost town here? It means that there's one large entity here that believes that Bitcoin does not go by 100K, not on his watch, not without him being able to buy back lower. This is the bet this person is taking. Is that I'm selling you all the way into 100K because I don't think you have the steam to continue here. And that's a very dangerous game you're playing because now you have to assume that you will have the liquidity to buy back lower, that everybody's going to take your side. The problem is you're currently in the face of billions of dollars being raised every passing minute to continue buying whatever you're selling here. And again, a player like Sailor, right? He gets liquidity because he cannot buy bottoms. That's where there's too much interest. It's too competitive. Too many people are going to catch on. He needs to buy in a place where people feel comfortable to sell. That's the only way he gets exposure. That's why he's been buying the top every single time, is because that's where people feel safe enough to sell him billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin, right? The problem is we don't see Sailor ever intending to sell ever again. So the problem is what is being sold right here will not be sold again. And that's how it needs to be seen until the next guy comes in and thinks, hey, that's it. I'm going to be able to sell them all here and I'll buy back lower. The problem is now, what does this guy do, right? If 100K gets blown open, we are literally in no man's land after that. Like there, what 100 wall here, 100 wall there. Like in comparison to how much selling has been going on from 90 to 100K, it's going to blow the roof right open, right? If we actually get to that number. So the ETF inflows is coming in and adding more pressure onto that. Just again, it's like if it was something that had a supply you did not know about, or something that um, I want to say could be manipulated and tampered with, and then yes, I agree with you that like inflows would be like a distribution area, and in many ways, what you're seeing right now is a distribution area. Someone is distributing up here. There's no doubt about it. There's someone selling here and in large quantities, and for whatever reason, they believe this is as far as we go before they have a chance to buy back lower, if they even want to buy back lower. I mean, there's a lot of people that have been in this game You know, since 2012, 2013, they're seeing 100K. They've made enough for a lifetime at this point. It's you know, if they want to exit, they want to exit, right? And that's it. But at the end of the day, what Bitcoin just does here is just buying and selling for the price that it's being asked at. That at the end of the day, that's really all it is. It's just there's some dynamics, and
Yeah,
that's
just to
all.
add some context to high ETF flows being the top, we also had high ETF flows at 70K before Bitcoin went into price discovery.
That's
But I
it.
think, yeah, I agree that high ETF flows have marked the top in March and in, I believe, June and July, but the context was a bit different, right? Back then, we still were not in an easing period with interest rates, so that was only announced in September. So the speculation on more speculative assets is higher when investors are aware that interest rates will drop. So that's the first thing. And basically, the second thing is that two times when we had high ETF flows throughout the year was when Bitcoin was at 70K, right? And let's be fair, 70K back at then didn't sound as interesting, right? So we needed something way above that to spark more ETF interest in Bitcoin, but also retail interest. So the moment that Bitcoin was able to flip that previous all-time high area at 73.6K, that's when the actual interest came in, right? And that's where more and more players came in. And even if people wanted to take profits because high ETF inflows might mark the top, they could take profits, but the buyer side was increasing and just pushing the price higher. So I think that's a key difference that you need to acknowledge as well. Um, of previous instances where we had high ETF flows. Now, of course, speaking now, high ETF flows today could be a top signal, but I don't think that's the main reason behind it. I think the sell orders could be the main reason behind that. So in this case, correlation is not necessarily causation.
Yeah, it's look, I'm gonna refresh. You see, like they get a bit higher, people get their confidence back. Looks like we're about to break new highs. You know, like some people take some chances on perps, but realistically, this is not ape in any way, shape, or form. These funding incentives are not indicative of an insane amount of longs being opened up in this entire area. So realistically, it tells me more that the upside has a lot more. I want to say sell orders or liquidations to touch more than it has the downside. It's just because there's a number of things, right? You still have an insane spot premium. Most of the sells I see coming in are in my perp column. They're not in my spot column, right? It's if anything, it's again, it's just I don't get the logic, but okay. I
There was one question about Nvidia earnings, if I may get back to
Go
that.
for it, go for it, for sure.
I'm just trying to find the question. What I think somebody asked, what do you think the implications of the Nvidia earnings will be on the markets? Okay, could you please explain what will happen after Nvidia earnings, take profits, and rotate to ETH? That's a very tricky question, right? It depends what bags you're referring to. If you have long-term bags that are AI coins, I wouldn't touch them. I don't see the Nvidia earning as something that could change the macro trajectory of altcoins or AI coins in general. If you have longs, short-term longs on AI coins, you could take some profits if you see any pump right before or during the Nvidia earnings release. You know, that could be your exit liquidity out of your short-term leverage positions. But I wouldn't touch your spot backs, and especially not rotate to ETH necessarily, unless you have another trigger that could lead you to such a decision. Just wanted to say that. Pocky says gonna be running a little late. What a day! All right, more time for us to talk.
I can't stay too long because I'm pretty sure I have a stream again at 12 with the John and Woods. But if I can add on to the Nvidia stuff, I haven't taken a look at the underlying assets or the balance sheet because I'm not a shareholder of Nvidia. But what I can say is I know just based on facts that you know Nvidia has had quite a number of releases this quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Um, what was the release of the 4080s, 4090s, or is that from the previous call? If anything, 4080s, 4090s on release. I think that plays a good role in their earnings. I don't see how they underperform, but I do see how they either meet their mark or do better than expected, which again, I don't think is a catalyst for AI crypto or crypto in general, but I do see correlations with immediate earnings being released and how they affect the crypto market. So again, if we do get some positives, I don't see how that hurts us negatively. But if we do get some negatives, I don't see it as a long-term bearish thing. Just might cause some rupture in between.
Yeah.
But realistically, that's how I'm looking at it. I want to consider it just because there's potential volatility to come with it. But other than that, long term, I don't think it affects where we are in this current market environment. I think it just provides maybe a small setback. I don't see it as for AI crypto, if its whole use case and surrounding and narrative is based on Nvidia earnings, then I think that takes a bigger hit. But realistically, in the grand scheme of things, with money flowing in that the way it has been flowing in, I don't think that stands in the way of anything, right? So just logically, money is joining the space at an alarming rate. We're at new all-time highs. We're officially higher than we've ever been in crypto's industry when it comes to market cap. And a lot of these alts, a lot of these pairings are nowhere near their highest valuations. So that needs to be considered, right? When we were at 3 trillion last time, a lot of these things were inflated. They were super expensive. And today, they're still 40, 50% from those levels. So that needs to be considered. Just basic metrics and flow, right? It needs to be considered. So I'm outside for like 2 minutes, by the way, so I can't read the comments. But DB, if you see questions you like, feel free to
Yeah.
answer them.
Can you guys go over your top high conviction alts? Just curious if any confluence between the two of you. I mean, I talk about my conviction alts, right? I mean, you want to have some meme exposure, of course. My meme of choice has been with and Pepe. We caught the Coinbase listing pump. I think that could have been the local top for a few weeks. So just planning to add a bit more, maybe if you get a bigger retrace. Of course, Solana, if you want a Solana beta play, so to say, and want to stay in the L1 sector, maybe Sui sounds very interesting. Their ecosystem has been growing tremendously
I
over
might
the
add
year.
I might add that to my bags. I'm not gonna lie to you, just because yeah, I might add. Sorry for interrupting.
The thing is that Sui is at an $11 billion market cap, and people
Oh,
might find that that's not degenerate enough. But L1
ooh.
projects, I mean, they can go to, let's say, 70, 80 billion
When was Sui
easily. I mean,
released? When was Sui first introduced?
I believe like a year ago.
And do
I'm
we
not.
know the market cap of Solana when it was at $3 to $6? I'm curious. Is that I'm playing the theory that Solana, like it was
Oh,
in 2021, is the Sui Solana version of 2021. Like
let me let me give you some context. So when Solana was at the market cap of Sui today, the price of Sol was $40.
interesting. That's very interesting. I might have to actually speculate on this. I'm not gonna lie to you, just because I think we've seen a rotation that Ethereum's become its own major, and at that time Solana was kind of like the Sui we see today, and it's a layer one protocol, right? That's what you said.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So it's the
they've
same
been growing.
vibe.
Yeah, they've been growing tremendously in their ecosystem, both in
What's their
volume.
what's their niche? Like what's their niche? Because Solana's a meme niche, Ethereum's a utility niche, right? Like do they have a
I
niche?
I'm not entirely sure of the details. I
Would it
think
be
that they have
AI?
meme. No, I mean they have both utility and meme coins, just like any other ecosystem. But I'm super honest. I'm not like a huge expert on the ecosystem per se.
This is just
But
game
I've been
theory, right? So like what I'm trying to say here is that the market will get silly and people will be looking to speculate. And again, I think I've been underlooking this for a bit too long here. Again, the same way I treated Solana as oh, this is Ethereum in 2017, is Sui the Solana in 2021. Oh, it's created by ex-Facebook engineers. Oh my God, we're starting to get
I mean,
the Facebook janitor employees part of the team.
the thing that
Interesting.
the thing that I like about Sui is that the price has not just pumped based on narrative alone, like meme coins, but based on actual fundamental growth. If you look at volume, if you look at total value locked, stable coins
Pocky's here.
released, ecosystem, they've been all pushing the price higher. So I think that's a very organic growth, and that's what we've seen with Solana as well, right? The pump on Solana, of course, it was narrative based, right? We're in crypto. There's always something related to narrative, but you also have that fundamental backing, like you had with Solana, when you had all that ecosystem developing and all these protocols launching on Solana that helped with the price. And you were seeing that with Sui as well, I think. So I don't know if it reaches a valuation similar to Solana. I mean, that's quite ambitious to say, but I could see it do another 2, 3, 4x maybe if actually we get a huge rotation towards altcoins at some point. So I'm interested in it
I'm
on a
gonna have to
pullback.
do I'm gonna have to do some research on it, but I might have to add that as a potential speculative play. It's a bit late to the party, but hey, we haven't seen nothing yet. Pocky, I see you're on, so we
What's
will
up?
give you the floor, my friend.
How you doing, bro?
We're good. We're good. How much
Wow.
better can I possibly be at this point?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, higher. I mean, that's about it.
I mean, fuck, you know, right?
Yeah.
We keep trucking. We keep moving forward. That's it. I mean, I know you got your stream now, so we're not gonna take any more of your time. The only reason why we kept going because we said you said you were running late.
Yeah, no, we're good, brother. We're good.
All right, all right. Well, DB, it's our
Thank
time to
you.
say
Sorry
goodbye.
again. Sorry for running late, but I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yep.
So exciting stream. Thank you guys for joining. Always a pleasure to engage with you here. And have a wonderful rest of the day. And most importantly, stay on for the stream with Pocky. I think he's gonna discuss some interesting POCs, I'm assuming.
Oh
You
no,
can-
it's overrated.
Nah. It's guys, you know, we'll be ending off the macro stream here shortly coming up. In fact, right now, we got Pocky coming in with his usual Wednesday stream. Pretty jam-packed day for streams in general. We want to thank you guys so much for joining us, making another all-time high with us. And as always, if you like my work and DB's work, you know, you can always go to Rolls and stay updated with it. We'll just post that section in the chat right now. And without anything else to say, DB, it's always a pleasure. Another all-time high celebration, and everybody else, we do thank you for joining us and engaging in the chat and making this a fun one. And without anything else to say, if there's any messages, comments, or things we haven't addressed that you feel should be, we're always a message away. So with that being said, Pocky, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you guys. See you.
All right.
Take
Take
care,
care.
guys. Have a good one. Bye.